The top is missing. I have been waiting to tell this story for 10 years. I even dug out my old crowns that I won when I was Miss New Zealand or Miss Grand New Zealand. I'm not sure if you've seen the latest news about Miss Universe, owned by Mr. Nawat. Now, Mr. Nawat is somebody who I met over 10 years ago when I was Miss Grand New Zealand and went to Thailand to compete at Miss Grand International. I'm not sure how much footage I'm going to be able to find of my experience. I've got lots stored on a hard drive, so I'll dig that out and hopefully edit it in for you. But due to recent events where Mr. Nawat, who's the owner of Miss Grand International, has now taken over Miss Universe, and an issue with Miss Mexico arrived, which then encouraged about half of the people inside the meeting to stand up and walk out, which I applaud the women for doing. The reason I'm making this video today is because I have first-hand experience with Mr. Nawat and their team at Miss Grand International. It is both one of the best experiences in my life and the worst. And so today I'm going to tell you all the reasons why men should not be the owners of any kind of Miss or Mrs. title, and give people a little bit of an insight into what actually happens behind the scenes of pageants and why I stand with Miss Mexico and having to deal with Mr. Nawat at Miss Universe recently. The first thing to know about pageants are that you enter them as a woman because you want to have a platform to therefore go forth into the world to do amazing things, whether it be as a doctor, as a lawyer, as somebody who wants to do a lot of charity work, or somebody who wants to launch themselves into being a businesswoman. I mean, the background of pageants is in itself quite misogynistic, but women do it because we want to feel a real empowerment and we want to be platformed and launched into certain stardom to be able to do the things that we really want to do. My personal experience with Mr. Nawat had its ups and downs. My story is that I went to Miss Grand International in 2015, which was 10 years ago. I was 25 years old and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And within the first couple of weeks, I became quite sick. I had to go to a Thai hospital and I was treated with the utmost respect. And the staff at Miss Grand International, I still keep in touch with them today. So I still follow the people who were helping us. I still follow the careers of certain members of the volunteer team, or I hope they were getting paid at the time. It's just not something I even thought about. And the team at Miss Grand International were amazing. My personal gripe was with Mr. Nawat because at the time, myself and probably 4 other girls were vegan vegetarian, and it was very hard for us to eat while we were at our pageant. It was a struggle with the amount of non-vegetarian food that was provided to us, which I totally understand. We're in Thailand, we're in a different place where meat is seen, it's just different, you know, and vegetarianism and veganism wasn't very popular at the time either. I knew going into it that it would be a little bit hard. There might be some things that I would have to sacrifice. For instance, 3 weeks in, I was absolutely starving. I decided to eat some egg foo young, so that's rice with egg all through it, and that goes against my veganism, my values, but it was like survival at that point. And I guess that really addresses when people are like, what would you do if you were on a deserted island? Well, you'd probably eat what you have to. I know for myself and a few of the other girls, we really struggled with food. So I lost weight drastically. I lost at least 5 kgs while I was on my pageant tour. And the thing that people don't realize about these international pageants is that you get thrown into a world of immediate stardom where you're being followed around by thousands of people and you are the face of your country and everything you do falls on your shoulders. And believe me, we are scrutinized online by the pageant following and community, and whilst they can be amazing, they can also be very, very harsh. So my personal experience was I suffered with a health issue. The team looking after me were amazing. I cannot fault the staff at Miss Grand International, but I can fault Mr. Nawat and how he dealt with me personally. There was like a prejudice against the girls who were eating vegetarian or eating veganism, that we were like a hassle, that we were just annoying. And that was felt through our final interviews. In my final interview by his assistant Teresa, I was asked, like, did you find any food? In a really sarcastic way, and that just meant that my final interview was absolutely shit. You know, you go into those final interviews hoping to impress the judges and hoping to really showcase what you have as a human to offer, this platform of judgment, and then you come out of it feeling like shit and there's no redo. So your final interviews are very, very important, and in the start of mine I was sort of mocked. So the higher ups at Miss Grand International, they weren't the kindest. Mr. Nawat comes across as a really amazing businessman, and that's where we leave it. Businessmen should not be in charge of 90 countries of wahine, of women. I'm from New Zealand, so that's te reo Māori for women, it's wahine. They should not be in charge of a women's organisation. It's always men at the top leading them. Donald Trump owned Miss America and Miss Universe for many, many years, and that was... My parents flew into Thailand the week of the final, and I had decided I wanted to go home. I had lost so much weight. I was increasingly more and more sick. My stamina was really bad, and the most disappointing thing was that when my parents turned up, all of a sudden it became a very serious issue to Mr. Nawat. He did not want people knowing that I had left the competition. He came directly to my hotel room, and his arrival to my hotel room came when my parents arrived, and he realized how serious it was, and how if people got wind of the fact that I had left, there would be like articles about it and possible mentions of how like I didn't have enough food, or maybe the headlines would be like, you know, that I was starved or something, which I wasn't. So then his whole demeanor changed. It changed from I was a nuisance to please, please, please don't tell anyone that you're leaving. Make sure you go out the back, like if you decide to leave, like the pageant, the country, you do it in a non-conspicuous way. And also the offer of food, of vegetarian or vegan food, as much as I wanted, was then an option. So when I said I want to leave, I don't want to be here for final night, I can't do this, I don't have the stamina, I'm really sick, this is not an environment where I can thrive, the offer of we will serve you more food, we will bring you whatever you want, was all of a sudden an option. So my personal experience with Mr. Nawat obviously dictates how I feel about this situation with Miss Mexico. I stand with her wholeheartedly. I stand with all of the women who also walked out of that room. Under no circumstances should a woman have their voice silenced at a Miss Universe competition. Let me be so clear about that. When you are asking women to platform themselves, their bodies, their ideas, their beauty on stage, and then you try to silence them in a room, I am so glad that social media is such a big thing nowadays, so that we can see firsthand what happened in that room. If you haven't seen the videos about what happened, I will direct you to them in the comments. My entire experience as a vegan at the Miss Grand International competition in Thailand 10 years ago wasn't the greatest, but I made the best of it. We were expected to ride elephants, and I said no, and of course I'm looked at as a nuisance. There were a couple of other girls as well who said no, they would not ride the elephants. At the time, I was being platformed in New Zealand as a vegan activist, and there's no way I was going to have my photos online as somebody who was about to jump on the back of an elephant, and I didn't want to either. I used my platform during that time to stand up for what I believe in. There was another boat ride as well where they took us out, and the boatmen were diving down and getting sea cucumbers and bringing them up to the surface and showing the girls, and then sort of squirting the ink out at them. And I myself burst into tears. I think I was so overwhelmed with the amount of cameras and paparazzi following us the whole time. Like, it's really hard to describe to anybody what going through that is, and how unprepared you are as a tiny girl from New Zealand going into an international stage where there are thousands of people watching you every day and commenting on your body, what you look like, what you're wearing. Things that I want you to take away from this video. Men should not be in charge of any pageantry competition. I myself helped to run a pageantry competition in Auckland with a friend of mine, and it was women uplifting women, and that is the only way forward that I see pageants going. I don't want anybody in the comments to construe my words. I am 100% in favour and support of trans women who take part in Miss Universe competitions. I am saying that cis hetero men should not be in charge, or even cis gay men should not be in charge of a women's event. The other thing that I want you to take away from this video is that when we come from very, very small countries, we're pretty much given a ticket and a good luck charm, and off you get sent to a massive competition. Nothing in the world prepared me for the world that I was stepping into. Not so long ago, the Miss Grand International national costumes, so that is the costume you wear to represent your country, came out online, and on TikTok people were having a field day about Miss New Zealand, and I jumped to her defense. I've never met her before. I don't know anything about her costume, who designed it, or if she made it herself. And I jumped to her defense because people were not only saying that she isn't the right nationality to represent New Zealand, which is ridiculous. As long as you're from Aotearoa, you can represent us. And then the second thing was that her costume was just a silver fern and not very good. As somebody who had to beg, borrow, steal for money to get across to my own pageant, I was right in the comment section saying, if she made this herself, it's friggin' amazing. I can't believe she made it herself, because this costume is incredible. Unlike other countries where you probably have designers begging you to make your national costume or your final dress, in New Zealand we do not have a massive platform for pageants. People don't even know who Miss New Zealand is at the moment unless you follow the pageant circuit. And so when I was doing pageants, I literally had to beg designers to make me something and then part pay them for their work. Of course, they're designers, they deserve to be paid. But it's not as if everyone is going to see that online and then that designer is going to be booked out. It's just not how it works in New Zealand. So if you're online and you're looking at the pageant circuit and you're thinking, oh, I could do a better job than her, oh, her costume sucks, I want you to have a little think about how much work is involved. When I entered my pageant in New Zealand to win a spot at Miss Grand International, I was one of 25 women, and we all had to fundraise our way all the way to the top. Every outfit that I wore, every shoe that I had, every earring that I had was all of my own. I had a jewelry sponsor, so I was very lucky that I could wear pageantry costume jewelry while I was out and about. And I had gifted makeup as well. Anika Organic gave me a huge makeup kit to take over, because obviously then it meant that I could use vegan and cruelty-free makeup. But those were all people that I reached out to myself. My national directors actually didn't really like me and didn't really like my values as well. I was really looked upon as somebody who was like a black sheep. Your national directors, if you don't know, are supposed to be your biggest supporters, your biggest fans, the people pushing you to do well at the competition. Well, mine really didn't like me. And I got an email like the week before going where they said, just keep your mouth shut and you'll do okay, but don't speak your values, don't speak out to who you are. The issue with the pageants being run by men is that in New Zealand at one point Miss Universe was under Nigel Godfrey, who's a big TV exec, and I could tell you a ton of things about him, but we won't go into that today. And Mr. Nawat, you know, he owns a TV channel in Thailand. He owns TV cameras. He has the funds to do these competitions, and that's the hard thing about it, right? But we definitely need to see an amazing woman in charge of Miss Universe, in charge of Miss Grand International, and we need to see women within our own communities running these events, because when we had a man in charge of Miss New Zealand, the time that I did it, it just, yeah, it's not good. That's all I'll say about it. It's not good. If you have any questions about what it's like to be in a pageant, or what funds are involved, or what the process is, I literally spent a good 3 years of my life on the pageant circuit, and it's some of the best memories I have, and it's also some of the worst memories I have. I was definitely silenced, I was definitely told to fit into a box, I was definitely seen as a nuisance. So all of those women who stood up at Miss Universe, I applaud you, I am 100% with you. and it's time that women's empowerment is taken seriously. And for Miss Mexico, we stand with you. You have Aotearoa's full support from this previous Miss Grand New Zealand.